met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up, because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Welcome to the season finale of Ghoul Radio. I am your host, Rob Cortez. Here's a brief history of Halloween. Halloween, first known as All Hallows Eve, was deeply influenced by ancient Celtic harvest festivals of lighting bonfires and dressing up in spooky costumes to ward off ghosts. In this episode, I welcome some friends and family, and they share their paranormal experiences. This story hits close to home because it happened to my mom decades ago. My mom was 13 years old, living in Mexico. My mom is very close to her family, and they are very social. So much so, it wasn't rare when people would just stop by my grandparents' home. One day, my mom was sweeping the front of her home when she heard a knock. It was coming from the fence in front of the home. She noticed a tall, older man, roughly in his 60s, just standing there. It was Don Erofilo, a friend of her grandfather. She said, "Hello." The normal, "Hello, hi, how are you?" replies. Don Erofilo was looking for my mom's grandfather. So she rushed back inside to fetch him. My mom said, "Abuelo, Don Erofilo is outside, asking for you." There was a pause, a chilling silence. My mom said her grandfather stared at her for a couple of seconds before replying, "That's impossible." And the next words he uttered shook my mom to her core. Her grandfather said, "Don Erofilo has been dead for 3 weeks." The fear was great. My mom broke down. Her grandfather and mother were so shook by my mom's words that they went to check if Don Erofilo was still there. But nobody was there. A moment my mom has never forgotten, and the fear she felt that day is a memory she will never forget. Hey man, I went ahead and invited my friend Art. He's gonna go ahead and tell you guys some stories that he heard throughout the years in Mexico. I think he's from over there, I'm not really sure. Anyway, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. There's some stories that I've heard over the years since I was a little boy. These are stories that are told by my mom, my uncle, my dad. And a lot of stories are with truck drivers.
Speak louder.
A lot of stories start with truck drivers. Truck drivers see a lot of stuff out there, and mainly because they're always in every hour of the night driving.
Yeah.
Like for one, my brother told me one story, but this one wasn't in Mexico. This one in Oklahoma.
Okay.
He said he was working in the oil rigs, and out there it's a lot of wilderness. Like there's really middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and Oklahoma's not a very large populated state. So he said after working a year at the oil rigs with the company, he said he would always work night shifts. And he started noticing every time he would get off the truck, to change a few things, to check the truck and everything. And he was parked in the forest. He said he would see shadows, little shadows.
Like kid shadows?
Like kid shadows, but a very small shadow. Like, I guess you could say like a 5-year-old height. And he would always say that he always felt like someone would throw little rocks at his truck.
Okay.
When he was turned away. And every time, if he would turn around, you can just see a shadow of someone like in the truck, like running. And he couldn't explain it.
So the shadows were like maybe messing with him.
He believed that they were messing with him. And he ignored it. He didn't think too much of it. And so he started noticing that almost every night after that night, it would happen again. So he started talking to some of his coworkers and asking them, like, did they ever experience anything like that? And they told him, why did you see it? They asked him, see what? Did you see something out there? Well, I think I did. And they would tell him, yeah, it's usually like little people that workers who have worked here claim they would see it, and they would see, like, they don't know what they are. Because the Native American tribes who live in Oklahoma, they have stories about them.
Oh, okay.
So they know about them. And they say that they don't chase them, don't follow them. If they throw rocks at you or they throw something at you, just ignore it, get back in your truck, and head back to the facility.
What do you believe will happen if someone would have to, chase them or find out, or are curious,
I think they're just trying to lure you away from the truck and lure you to the forest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's what they say. They say don't follow them, don't listen to them, nothing. Just get back in your truck. Because even for the law enforcement and the local law enforcement, they would say that they always get reports of it. They always get them. And I was even surprised that even law enforcement knows about them. And they tell them, do not follow them, do not listen to them. Just get on your truck and go back to the facility. You finish your job and go back. And to this day, my brother, he did exactly what he was told. And being Mexican, we know we're not supposed to follow or don't even listen to anything. Go do your job, go back, and that's it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of you told me there was a lot of stories, even for Bigfoot sightings. A lot of them in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, there's a lot of stories about that. And a lot of his coworkers that have worked there way longer than he was, they say they would always constantly see things, hear things, and it's not until you get out there that you know that a lot of the legends that we hear have some truth in them. So it's
interesting that you brought up Bigfoot, because my first guess was Chris James, and he's an author here on the radio, and he went ahead and had a theory about monsters like Bigfoot or anything, really. So these creatures want you to be scared. They love to chase you, right? And while they chase you, your fear grows. And so he has a theory that maybe these creatures want you to be scared so that they can eat the fear. That satisfies them, Because there's always been stories of people have seen Bigfoot, people have seen the Mothman or anything like that, and they live to tell. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of reports of Bigfoot in North Texas, and there's been a lot of reports even of other crypto creatures like the Dogman.
Yeah, yeah. He actually brought up the Dogman.
Yeah, he's
here sightings in Laredo.
He was seen very close to the port in the river, in the River. A lot of people have reported sightings of them, like for example, the truck drivers here in Texas. They report in North Texas, they hear hollering like a wolf, but it doesn't sound like a wolf. It sounds much bigger. And there's video if you go on TikTok, there's truck drivers that record when they're there at night and the truck stops in the middle of nowhere. They're literally recording the howlings but it sounds like a huge creature. It doesn't sound like a wolf, like a little wolf. It sounds something way bigger. For it to make those type of sounds that loud, it must be pretty big. And a lot of I guess you would say scientists here in Texas have said
cryptologists, I think,
cryptozoologists we're seeing more sightings of these things now because now we have smartphones. Back then we didn't have a lot of smartphones. We didn't have a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, now access to show them.
We didn't have the access. Right now you can record and add them and immediately download it and put it online.
Yeah, to expose.
And it's nowadays we see everything. Like we're seeing everything, and it's insane. Like, and plus, I know a lot of people who are always claiming that these things don't exist are usually people who are more scared. They're scared because they don't want to believe something like that could exist in the world. And people who believe they exist, have you noticed that they're not that terrified? The ones who actually believe they exist. People who don't want to believe that they exist is just people that are just too scared. They're like, I don't know. We're seeing a lot of things in this world nowadays we cannot explain.
Have you ever witnessed anything or heard anything growing up or right now or recently?
The only thing I've witnessed is what you call them. It's shadow man or shadows.
Just shadows.
Yeah. The ones they always say that they're called the shadow people.
Okay.
And I would see them a lot when I was a little boy. And
how old were you?
I must have been probably like 9 or 7.
Man, 9. Everything happens when you're 9.
Yeah. No,
right,
well, that's exactly the point. Because when you're kids, you see more things than adults.
You have an ability.
Yeah, it's like a sixth sense. And the only reason I know I wasn't seeing things is because my nephew, when he was 9, around 7 years old, he saw the same thing. And even it described it the way I saw it.
Okay.
He literally described it exactly the same way I saw when I was a little boy. And then after that, my son saw it as well. And my son called it the Shadow Man. That's what he literally called it. And you can tell right away he wasn't lying because his expression on his face, he looked very confused. And he would claim that sometimes in the hallways of the house, something fast would pass, like a shadow, like someone passing real fast.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter if it was daytime or nighttime, you would see them.
I mean, I've been to your house and it pretty much already looks really creepy.
It
especially
does.
At night.
Yeah, at night. No, it does.
I mean, he has a lot of vintage appliances and vidro piso.
Yeah, no, it could be if you don't, you'll get scared if you're not used to the house. And the last experience I had about the Shadow Man was literally 3 in the afternoon. My mom had gone to a cross. We went to do an errand. When I got home, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I noticed that her little room, the light was on, and I noticed that there was a shadow reflecting on the floor. So I immediately thought, oh, my mom's home.
Yeah.
And I called for her, and then, ya llegaste, ma? And I got no response. But I could clearly see the shadow on the floor reflecting, like someone moving.
Yeah.
So I just paused for a moment, got a little closer, and I asked again, Mom, ya llegaste? And again, I got no response. So slowly, as I started walking towards the door of that room, halfway, I noticed that the shadow just went inside the room. Like, it just went in there. And as soon as I did that, I walked closer and faster just to see what was in there. And I noticed that there was no one in that room. And there was no room for anybody to move around because it was filled with boxes so close to the door that there's no room for anybody to move around.
Oh, okay. There was no space for it to walk around.
There's no space for anybody to move around. Wow. As soon as I got that close and I looked in, I was in straight shock. Because I could literally see the shadow moving on the ground, and as I got closer, it just went inside the room, like it just disappeared, like if somebody just hid in the room. And I was freaked out. I was freaked out, but I wasn't surprised. And this just happened during the day. It wasn't even night.
Wow, during the day.
It was during the day. It wasn't even night. And that's when I realized these things don't care. It could be day and night. These things will appear.
Show up.
Yeah, they'll show up. Like I was very confused. I even told my sister, my brother, like that same moment, like, hey, I think I just saw something, because I thought it was Mom, and Mom's the only one that goes into that room. No one else goes into that room. Because everything that's in there, it's hers. It's her stuff. So there's no reason for anybody to be in her room. And then, apart from the footsteps that we hear upstairs, usually you hear them coming from my sister's room. Recently, this happened recently, I think 2 weeks ago. Me and Sabrina were downstairs eating, and we started hearing footsteps were right underneath the table where we eat, and I didn't pay attention because I was eating and I was watching a video. It wasn't until she started telling me, like, do you hear that? Yeah, what? The footsteps? Yeah, I heard them. There's nobody upstairs. And that's when it hit me. Oh shit, that's true. There's nobody upstairs.
Oh, wow.
And we heard him again. And I started just listening. We were just sitting there so still listening to the footsteps.
Okay. Was she freaked out?
She was in between freaked out and curious.
Okay.
Because she gets scared sometimes, but she's also very curious to know what's going on, what's that sound, what's this and that. And now that I realize that these things are coming back again, like these things, you can hear the sounds again, you notice again going little shadowy things eventually in the corners, and
oh, sorry to interrupt you. For all our listeners, who is Sabrina?
Oh, Sabrina's my girlfriend. Yeah, she's living with me, and since she's been living with me, she's been hearing a lot of things. That's why when she tells me don't leave her alone in the house at night, because when nobody's at the house, because you will hear something. You will hear something, or see a shadow. You're gonna hear something.
But you're already used to it.
I'm so used to it.
After living there for
because I was literally, I was born in the house. I was raised there. You're so used to it. Yeah, like you're just so used to it. And where else am I gonna go? So I need somewhere to sleep. No, like, oh man, fuck it.
Is your what history does your house have? Did your dad build it from the ground up, or was it somebody else's?
My dad built it from the ground up. He said there was nothing there in that house. It was just dirt. It was just like there was no other foundations. But he did say back in the 60s, way before the 60s, when he bought it in the 60s, but way before, he would say that a train used to pass through that neighborhood, but a very long time ago. Apparently, there were a lot of saloons back in the early 1800s when Laredo was barely growing. And where my house is, that area was like in the middle of nowhere because downtown was the main town.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would say that's why they would call it Las Cruces there because there were train tracks there back then.
The Cruces neighborhood.
Yes, the Cruces neighborhood. And a lot of people from my dad's generation know this. The new generation doesn't know any of this. And the story was that a lot of people would die there because they would get shot, or because like they said, there were a lot of saloons or something like that, that a lot of people would be shot or murdered. Pero I honestly don't know the full story. I really don't. Pero pues,
Well, I'm pretty sure those saloons were filled with a lot of drunk people. So,
back then, killing someone was everyday life to them. Like, someone get in a fight, boom. You owe me money, boom.
that still happens today.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. That's not
All right, shadow people. Shadow people at his house. Anything else you want to share, buddy?
Lechuzas.
Okay.
Lechuzas.
Owls.
Owls.
What do you think owls symbolize to you?
I honestly think owls symbolize. Well, they symbolize a lot of things. They're not necessarily an evil symbol, because a lot of people in other cultures, owls signify good things. It's a certain one, the one they call the lechuza, is the one they connect with the witches. And I know there's a lot of stories. I know in Mexico there's a lot of stories about lechuzas.
Yeah.
Lechuzas are like the most famous things upon cryptos that there can be in Mexico. And I honestly think they're just shapeshifters. I honestly think I never seen one. I've heard so many stories about them.
You've never seen an owl here?
No, I never seen a lechuza. Es que lechuzas are huge.
Oh, yeah, they're huge.
They're like
The wingspan.
yes, they're huge. Little owls, it's que they're different. They're different breed types.
Yeah.
Lechuzas are like almost like, I guess you can say, 4 feet. They're pretty big, lechuzas. And regular owls are very small. Like, they're very small. But those lechuzas, those types that they always talk about, I can see why they think they're witches, because when you look at them and the way they move their head and their necks, they have long necks. Kind of appears human in a way, but we don't really know what they are. I would always hear stories like if there's kids in the house and the adults are outside, or you could hear footsteps on the roof, that the lechuzas can hear the kids when they're left by themselves. And I would always hear stories about that. Like I said, I'd never seen one. I've never seen one. I don't know what I would do if I saw one.
Have you ever heard of those stories from Monterrey about the witches that live around,
I know
or that have been seen around the volcan?
I know the story about the witch who attacked the police officer.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And when I went to Monterrey, when I was going to Monterrey, when I was 21, 22, I actually asked to be taken to the neighborhood where the witch attacked the peace officer. And it just looks like a regular neighborhood. When they took me, it just looked like a regular neighborhood. People living their lives, people just doing day by day. And when I asked what was the full story about the peace officer who actually, apparently they got calls that night that someone was walking on the streets very late at night, and it was making people very uncomfortable because it would just stand in the middle of the street, wouldn't walk anywhere. So they send the peace officer to go check it out, see what's going on. As soon as the peace officer gets there, he sees it on the street, but doesn't think much of it. He just thinks just a drunk. or something. But as he got closer, he started noticing that it didn't look human. And he said that it claimed that it actually had it looked like it had reddish eyes.
Yeah.
And
Feathers.
like kind of like feathers. And as soon as he got closer and the thing noticed the police officer, it literally attacked the vehicle. It literally went on the hood, attacked the vehicle. And he said, and from what I remember, that he said that he couldn't believe what he was looking at, because he was looking at exactly through his car windshield.
Yeah.
You can see the
side
face.
of his windshield.
It was actually was right on the hood.
Oh, okay.
No, it was on, and the windshield that you drive, when you look through the drive-through, he had the Lechuza had literally his full face on the windshield.
Oh wow.
And he said he was just terrified what he was looking. He didn't know what he was looking at. I remember when they told me the story, and he actually passed out because the thing was literally trying to get in the vehicle, and he noticed that it was very strong. That it did a lot of damage to the vehicle, and they say that he just remembers waking up. I guess he passed out of shock or something.
Because of your experiences, is it fair to call you a believer?
Yes, you can call me a believer. I've always believed in things that we have been told that don't exist, things that are legend, things that are crypto. I've always believed. I really have. Even though I haven't seen them, but for so many people to have claimed to see them, and there's actual people who actually work in law enforcement to be claiming they saw something, that says a lot. And these are people who have nothing to gain by it. So yes, I guess you can say I am a believer.
Do you believe in witchcraft, magic, or people who can talk to the dead?
Yes, no, I definitely believe in witchcraft. I really do. I believe it really does exist. I know it's existed for a very long time, and because I even know, because like for example, the cartels, they do witchcraft, and these are people who they don't play around. They take it very seriously, and for the Mexican government to take it very seriously as well, that says a lot as well. Yes, I believe it exists. It's real.
All right. Going back to the witch owl, the lechuzas. You've claimed to have never seen one, but tell us more about those stories.
Well, some of the stories that I've heard, some of them are very short, pero a large majority of them do come from Mexico. The majority of them come from Mexico, all these stories.
Mexican folklore.
Mexican folklore, yes. They claim that these things are witches, even though we really don't know what they are. Pero it's pretty clear that they do shapeshift. There's claims of they've been seen. They call them la brujas or lechuzas, but that they fly around near the mountains in Mexico, and there's video that has been taken of this, and they don't look like witches. They look like something else. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, I've seen those videos.
Yeah,
Pretty creepy.
It literally looks like it's using a floating device, like it's levitating.
A lot of people maybe also mistaken them for UAPs, UFOs.
Yep. Well, because from one of the videos that I saw, it literally looked like, I don't know if do you remember do you remember Frieza from Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
Do you remember that when he was in his first form, he was on a device that would levitate and move him around? That's pretty much what it looked like when I saw the video. It looked very similar to that.
The Frida's floating device.
Yeah, pretty much. And but the thing is that these things have been seen for a long time, and even the natives from Mexico, they would claim the same thing. They would see them. So a lot of these things have been around for a very long time. Like we think it's just a modern thing that is going on, just like UFOs. Same thing. Like these things have been around for a long time.
Yeah, I believe UFOs have been around way before human civilization.
Yes, I do believe that as well. They've been here for a while. I think we're the newcomers. We're the ones who are new to this world, not them.
Can you tell us what, if you know the origins of Halloween? Can you tell us in your experience and your research?
The farthest back I recall from what I've learned, the origins of Halloween, it's from the Celts, the Celtic.
Yeah, Celtic.
The Celtic. Sometimes I forget it's Celtic or Celtic. But the oldest account that I remember, and from what I researched, is that the reason why they wear masks is to scare the spirits away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do on Halloween night. They pretty much do their rituals.
They light up bonfires.
Exactly. They light up bonfires and they dance around the fire.
There you go.
While they're wearing their masks.
Exactly what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I remember when I researched it. And now, because we kind of carried on the tradition of wearing the mask, we don't know why we do it.
Yeah, a lot of people are uneducated when it comes to the origins of Halloween.
Yes.
I find it really interesting.
Yeah, I find it really interesting too. It really is. Because it's got a lot of, in reality, a lot of holidays are pagan holidays.
Yeah.
A lot of them are. And a lot of people don't realize that. And that's just like Easter. Like, what the hell does the bunny have to do with Jesus? Like, nothing. It has nothing to do with Jesus.
Yeah.
It's actually.
I think that's just marketing.
It is. It's just marketing. That's all it is. Because Easter's mainly it's a Nordic holiday. Ostara, I think. That's the goddess of. I think it's spring. Goddess of spring.
Mm-hmm.
It's her. It was dedicated to her. That's what the holiday is for Easter. It's the rebirth of the yeah,
of the season.
Of the season, yes, there you go. It's the rebirth of the season. From what I remember, what I reviewed, yeah.
Have you ever been interested in wanting to visit a country or a city that has a lot of inspirations for, maybe they're famous for supernatural, like Salem or New Orleans or Mexico or anywhere?
Well, I've always wanted to go see, and I know, like Venice in Italy, it's been known that Venice, because of the old buildings, these buildings have been around for a long time, it's one of the most haunted cities in Italy. I do know that. Just like Texas, I think San Antonio is the most haunted city in Texas.
Yeah,
that has been
true.
Yeah,
True.
From what people have been saying, and even like just the Riverwalk, the hotels in the Riverwalk itself. A lot of famous people who stayed downtown, they claim to hear or see things in these luxurious hotels that have been around for a long time. And I do know San Antonio is one of the haunted cities in Texas. I do know that. And I actually went downtown in San Antonio, the Riverwalk, when they were doing the Halloween, I guess you say the Halloween theme, that they have like a haunted house. And they do it in this old building, which I'm pretty sure in itself it's haunted, because you can just feel it right away when you go into the building. And they actually do the haunted house in this building at the same time. So like, imagine if you actually see something you think it's part of the show, but it's not. Like it's actually
Something real.
It's something real, yeah. Like, hey, like, yeah. How did that lady do that levitating? What lady? Like, oh, what? Like, yeah, like it's pretty freaky. But at the same time, well, if you love that, I mean, I don't, I get scared, but I love seeing it. So, and it makes me know that I'm not crazy, and makes me know that I know these things do exist. It's real. These things are real. Like, there's no doubt.
In episode 1, I mentioned what were my inspirations to start the show. One of those inspirations was a Mexican syndicated AM radio show called La Mano Peluda. It was hosted by Juan Ramon Sainz. I remember this one case that I listened to when I was 9 years old that left a scar on me. To this day, I still hear it, and I'm sure millions of other people were listening when it first aired. This was during a time when social media wasn't at its peak, like nowadays, and you had to envision it yourself. It was a case relating to a man named Josue. He claimed to have sold his soul to the devil in exchange for riches. He chronicles the actions he took to get his riches. These actions included killing his own grandmother and other sacrifices. He was also told that he had to wear this ring, a ring that he couldn't take off as hard as he tried. He also mentions that he couldn't share his riches and that he had to spend about $15,000 in a day or else. He said that there were apparitions in his home making noises and bothering him while he was on the phone with Juan Ramon Sainz. He would speak in tongues to ward off those apparitions. One of those apparitions was that of a woman that was tall, slim, and had a long jaw and tongue. He mentions that this woman was on the ceiling of the corner of the room, chanting words and laughing at him. He distresses to Juan Ramon Sainz about an object that the woman was holding. He was told that whenever he would see this object or symbol, he was going to die. Jose was crying on air and told Juan Ramon Sainz that he didn't want to die. He begged Juan Ramon Sainz that he just wanted to move on from this and that he prayed for God to forgive him. Man, it still gives me chills to this day even talking about it. If you remember this story, message us on Ghoul Radio. There'll be a link posted on that very case on this episode. That's a wrap for season 1 of Ghoul Radio. I had so much fun making this show, and I would like to thank Chris James, Torres Paranormal Investigations, and my friends and family for being part of it. Please share your stories to ghoulradio956@gmail.com. I would also like to share some news about Ghoul Radio, and that's that we'll be having some special episodes leading to Ghoul Radio Season 2. And it all starts with our Krampus special this December. Once again, happy Halloween. And if you're not listening to Ghoul Radio, it'd be a lot cooler if you did.